Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer for Kentucky Derby Prep Recap, taking a look at the Bluegrass at Keeneland. 1 1/8 and Sierra Leone, a $2.3 million son of Gunrunner, went off the favorite, deservedly so, off his victory in the Risen Star. He breaks from the far outside post in the Bluegrass, and he didn't break the best, but his running style is he likes to come from the back of the pack. He kind of was a little bit fractious behind the stalls as well.
Yeah, it seemed like they had trouble getting him in the gate once he got in. This is typical Sierra Leone. It's one of those things, Dan. This is a running style that could be problematic at some point in his career. So far, through his first few starts, hasn't been a problem for this horse. He just shows up and makes huge runs from off the pace.
Meanwhile, he did get some pace to attack in this race. Top Connor, his uncoupled stablemate, is on the lead on the inside and going fast. 23 for the opening quarter, and then a quick second quarter. 46-2, while pressured by just a touch. The Gotham runner-up, who ran very well, being close to that fast pace.
Yeah, this is something that you want to at least pay attention to, though, Dan. The field's pretty well stretched out. They're going a pretty good clip here. This is good news for Sierra Leone at the back of the pack because they're moving right along here. And this is a race that's going to be sort of faster early and then slower late, at least as far as the fractions go. Look at Sierra Leone, though, Dan. He's a closer. He's not. These are fast fractions. He's not outrun by these fractions. He is keeping in range. He's traveling strongly. He's going to make a big move around the final turn here to get himself into range.
Meanwhile, the only horse that has ever beaten Sierra Leone was Dornoch, the little brother of Mage, who is right now struggling a little bit in fourth, while Sierra Leone is beginning to kick up with a wide bid. And even though he has a lot of work to do turning into the stretch, Mike, you always had the feeling Sierra Leone was going to reel these leaders in.
Oh, yeah. He was traveling so strongly around the turn, Dan, just getting himself where he needed to be. And you can see him down the outside here in the stretch. He's just going to keep coming. You can tell he's going to win from here at just as they're past the eighth pole. He runs right over the top of some tired horses, to be sure. It looks like Just a Touch is getting a little weary at the end of this race. But, nobody else is closing in here, Dan. The horses that run second, third, and fourth, they were up there the entire way. One horse came and got him. It was Sierra Leone.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the also-rans before we really dive deeper into Sierra Leone's story. BU was stretching out in distance off of a win at Gulfstream Park. He's always been handled like a good horse by Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher, running him in some graded stakes races last year as a maiden. His last victory and only victory was very, very good, but it was sprinting, so he did have some distance questions to answer, and I wonder if maybe he'll just be more effective at shorter trips.
I mean, I guess that's how you kind of got to look at him now, right? I mean, I don't know what you thought of his performance here, Dan, and feel free to just take it from here and say something. I thought he got a great trip in this race, and he did not run.
He was dull. He just didn't fire his best shot. It looked like he had a good trip from a good inside post position, and he didn't fire at all. Perhaps it was too much too soon and only his first start against winners, but I think BU is going to have to do a lot better in these sort of distances against these sort of horses if he wants to be a major player in this division. I think sprinting will be better for him. As for Dornoch, who upended Sierra Leone in last year's Remsen, now that, of course, was a race won on a very muddy track where he was able to get to the lead. He got the jump on Sierra Leone, and it looked like Sierra Leone had his measure at the 16th pole, only for Dornoch to come back or perhaps Sierra Leone to hang a bit. In this race, Dornoch's had a pretty good trip, just close to those fast fractions, but just didn't have it in the stretch.
Yeah, he was pretty disappointed in here, I thought. I don't mind the position that he was in. They didn't really go looking for the lead in this race, but he wound up in a great spot, just sort of in behind, keeping up. It just felt like it was just all about whether he was going to get room and fire. As it turns out, I don't think it would have mattered if he got room, Dan. He's under a drive around the final turn. He's making up no ground, and he was just sort of grinding on through the stretch. He didn't have a big finish in here. I don't know, man. He's one of those horses. I think you and I were both hoping he would take a step forward here. And I don't know. I didn't think he did that.
I think maybe the key to him is he needs to lead. I think he has to be very, very aggressively ridden out of the gate. And while he's likely to head on over to the Kentucky Derby off of this race, heck, he did win his most recent start in the Fountain of Youth, although it was against a very weak field and it was a workmanlike performance. Even if he goes to the Derby and they say he's going to be on the front end, well, all of a sudden, the horse to beat, Fierceness, is likely to be close to the front end in this race. So Dornoch might be in a bit of trouble the way the race could shape up in Kentucky.
Yeah, maybe they are damned if they do or damned if they don't. I don't know. Maybe that's a pretty good point, though, you make there, Dan, because he wasn't good trying to stalk in here. So maybe he is, at least at this point of his career, just a horse who wants to be aggressively ridden.
Fans that like courses that are close to fast paces and hold on well when the races that are won by closers, they're going to like Just a Touch as a potential sleeper, despite his relative inexperience going into the Kentucky Derby. He did catch a very wet track when beaten by Deterministic in the Gotham, and all in all, he ran really well that day to continue staying on at the end of that race when it looked like he would be outpaced and could finish off the board. And in here, it was a fast pace. Again, there wasn't a ton of closing other than the winner, as you mentioned, but he did stay on well to be second. I think he's going to take some sneaky money in the Derby. He'll still be a very playable price if you believe.
Yeah, he will. He's got another horse who's going to have to find a way to move forward in the Derby, but there's something there with this horse. You can tell he's got talent. He's very lightly raced. I thought when I watched this race back, it almost seemed like Giroux wanted to make the lead with this horse. They came out of there really running, but Top Connor from the rail just was more aggressively ridden, so they just sort of had to sit outside of that horse, and the pace was fast. He took care of that horse, and you could tell at the end of the race he was tired, but this horse ran really well in here. It was only his third career start.
Epic Ride ended up finishing third in this race at a gigantic price. He's on the bubble right now as it pertains to being a Kentucky Derby entrant, something like 23rd or 24th as we speak on the earnings list. I thought he gave a solid performance, certainly outran his odds. He'll have to do better in the Derby.
Tried really hard in this race. He's another horse who was forward, but he was on the outside. He did his best, tried to really challenge Just a Touch there as they came into the stretch. He wasn't quite good enough, but he didn't totally quit through the stretch. Also, worth pointing out, Dan, it was his dirt debut in this race. A big move up in class and a surface switch for this horse. He handled it pretty well.
Top Connor, I thought, ran pretty well in his prior start at Gulfstream Park, where he had to work hard every step of the way. And in this race, I'm not sure if he just was forced to go too fast or didn't settle, but he never really got a breather. And I think he needed that against this sort of competition at this distance, at this point in his career.
Yeah, just one of those things. To me, they're just asking way too much of this horse to run him here right off of a debut win. A debut win, by the way, which was really impressive and suggests that this horse has a chance to be really good. I just hate that they ran him here. I hate that they, made him pull the kind of trip that he did where they just sent him on a fast pace with a really good horse, Just a Touch, breathing down his neck the entire way. And this horse did his best. He held on to about the 8th pole and he totally gave it up there. I can't wait to see where he turns up next, but I hope they find the right racer for him and give him a chance to develop, because this horse is good.
Let's talk a little bit more about the winner, who's going to be one of the major choices in the Derby. After the Bluegrass, I texted you and I said he might be too much horse for the rest of this 3-year-old crop on the first Saturday in May. 95 buyer in the Risen Star, 98 buyer in the Bluegrass. He's never taken a backward step on the buyer scale. He sold for $2.3 million. He's by Gun Runner. He's got the huge pedigree. The Dam's a Grade 1 stakes winner. The Dam's a Half to Forever Darling, a grade stakes winner, who's interestingly enough, the Dam of Forever Young, who's going to come in from Japan undefeated into the Derby. Second Dam multiple stakes winner. Third Dam Grade 1 horse. Sierra Leone ticks just about every box. I guess if you want to sort of point at some intangibles that could worry people taking a short price on him, it's that he did kind of seem a little bit fractious behind the gate, starting in front of the people, and Derby Day is a madhouse, and maybe that'll bother him a little bit, and his running style. He's going to get pace in the Derby. He has to get a trip.
Yeah, true. I'm not sure about the gate stuff, Dan. I know he was a handful here. I don't remember that being an issue in any of his prior starts, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't remember that being an issue for him, so I'm not going to worry about that. The running style, I guess, is more problematic, but he's not your typical deep closer, man. He travels strongly. He doesn't get totally outrun in his races for the most part. And it's not like he's a horse who took a huge step forward here in the Bluegrass. All of his races are good. Every single one. His debut was good. His Remsen was good. His Risen Star was good. And now his Bluegrass was really good. I mean, he's just one of the ones on the way to the Derby. I think everybody sees it that way.
And he seems way more focused, more professional, willing to seal the deal and finish off races ever since Chad Brown put the blinkers on him for the first time in the Risen Star. Wet tracks, no issue as well. Prices for the Bluegrass, Sierra Leone, the favorite, did not disappoint for Chad Brown. Just a touch, another good performance for a really underrated colt that's going to likely show some speed in the Derby. An Epic Ride at a big price, really showing that he likes the dirt, ran third here and ran pretty well, but is on the bubble as it pertains to points. Sierra Leone on his way to the Derby.